Hey friends, it's Carol, Saltbox Stitcher. This is Saturday, September 4th, my dad's birthday. If he was still alive, he'd be 110. He was born in 1911. So anyway, it's video number 52. Thanks for joining me. I skipped out on you 2 weeks ago, got together with Stitchy Friends, and I'm going to have my husband insert a picture at the very end because the gal's house we went to has finished and framed and they sinned, and it is fabulous. It's a fabulous sampler. So toward the end, I'm going to have him insert a picture of that. Made me want to come home and work on mine, which I did a little bit. The other comment, one of the comments I had was that I'm not looking at the camera good enough. That I tend to be shifty-eyed. They didn't say that, I said that. Part of the reason, there's probably more than one part, but part of the reason is I'm right in front of my front windows and side windows here in the dining room. And so anytime somebody's walking by, it distracts me. And I think on the last video that I did a month ago, I had a customer that was going to be coming, and so I kept looking to see if I was seeing her car pull up so that I could pause the video. So that's part of it. The other part is, the older you get, looking at your face the whole time is, it's tedious because you get older. And as I think it was my daughter's doctor, when she said, well, I'm getting this and I'm getting this, and I said, yeah, as you get older, you grow barnacles all over your body. I have barnacles. So anyway, I will try to look at the camera. I guess I've always been one of those kind of people that just has a hard time looking somebody straight in the eye for a long time. I get like, I don't know what it is. So I will try to look you in the face so you can see all my barnacles. Anyway. It's, like I said, September 4th, which is Sampler September. I always look forward to Sampler September because samplers, I really love to stitch samplers. So what I'm going to do today is I am going to do a whip parade, and it's mostly samplers. Now somebody's walking by, so let me see if I can see who's walking by my house on the sidewalk. See, told you. Anyway. I love samplers, and I have quite a few whips that are samplers. In fact, I counted all my whips. I have 53 whips. Now that includes all of my whips, whether it's a Halloween small or a Christmas piece or whatever. So some of those I won't be working on till next year. So I'm going to show you what I've worked on. I'm going to show you a good portion of my whips. This isn't all of them, but I'm going to show you what I have. And I also want to look at what I want to keep stitching on. I am getting close to a finish on one, and I will definitely finish that during this month. I'll talk about that in a second. And I also have a little bit of haul. I didn't have any haul last time, so I have a little bit of haul. So anyway, so welcome. Get a cup of coffee, sit back, enjoy. I meant to get my water, but I forgot. So anyway, hopefully I won't go dry during this. One thing I told you last time, I was going to tell you about the two pieces that were over here. This is called the old flag station. And I think this is by like somebody named Primitive Designs or something like that. Country Sampler at one time had a primitive club. And there were various designers. And this was one of those pieces, old flag station. I don't know if it's still available or not. Kind of looks fall to me, even though it has a flag, but anyway. This is called Strawberry House. Pretty sure this is Scarlet House. It could be Plum Street, but I think it's Scarlet House. It was originally a kit. I think it was an exclusive, but it's probably been released now. So those are the two pieces that were over there. Strawberry House and Old Flag Station. And both of them are filled with walnut shells. I used to fill everything with walnut shells. Now sometimes I use sawdust, and sometimes I use a combination. of walnut shell or lizard litter, whatever they call it. I prefer to call it walnut shells because lizard litter just sounds a little gross to me, but whatever. Call it whatever you want. So after my last video, I picked up something that I had been working on, and I worked on this quite a bit. Obviously, I didn't finish it because I'm going to show you in a minute. And this is Kindred Spirits. This was originally from a Dying to Stitch club. It's by Blackbird Designs. It's made into a drum. I have the fabric. Well, I have fabric coming out my ears. I have enough fabric for 100 people to quilt and sew for 100 years. I'm going to be 70 a week from tomorrow. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm kind of starting to reevaluate some things. I have to. Anyway, I will show you my stitching first. And if you want to listen to my rambling, whining, you can stay tuned. Anyway, Kindred Spirits by Blackbird Designs. And in this piece, Barb has included initials in each one of these kind of motifs. There are initials. So yes, I could do it for friends, but I have decided what I want to do is go back on the female side. In other words, my sister, my mother, well, let me start with my granddaughter, my daughter, me, my sister, my mom, my grandmother, and my grandmother's two sisters. I think there's 8 places in here. So that, and I'm just gonna put their first name initial. And I'd sort of like to frame this rather than do a drum because I'd like to put something on the back of it that says who these people are. So this is done on 36 count Oaken by Picture This Plus. And I am using all of the called for, well, there's just 4, weeks threads. It's not really a fall piece, but to me it looks like a fall piece. So with those colors, the orange and the blacks and the grays. So man, my voice is in the basement today. I think I could sound like a man. I just have a deeper voice. Okay. The next thing I've stitched on this almost monogamously, almost exclusively, let me put it that way. And that is the 7 Sheep Sampler by the Scarlet House. I love this piece. Let me take it out of the plastic because it does have a little bit of a glare with the plastic. I love this piece. I had a little bit of it done along this border, and I had that first pot of flowers, and that was pretty much all that I had done. I think I'd started on one of these trees down here. And now I'm pretty much closing in on a finish. There's still a lot of stitching to do because this is what I call kind of a stitch intense piece because there's just a lot of stitching. So let me show it to you close up. I have the bottom half of it completely finished. The girl, the guy, and I'm working on the top half. This is 46 count Autumn Gold, which is a double dyed fabric from Lakeside Linens. I think because it's a double dye, I have no basis to say this, but I think because it's a double dye that it tightens up the holes because that means it's been dyed twice, obviously. And it's been a little, I can stitch on 46. I've had other 46. To me, it's not that different from 40 count. But I've struggled just a bit, not enough to call it quits, but a little bit with this piece Maybe also because it's a dark linen. So I'm going to show it to you again. This is 7 Sheep Sampler. I love the bits of white against that dark linen. And I just think it's fabulous. The border on this, let me show you a close-up of that. The border on this is intense. And I am off on this side of the border, but I don't think it's going to matter, and I don't want to redo it. So the border's not consistent, and then you have all those flowers, leaves, whatever, coming off of that. So I literally have half of the border done up to here. So I have the other half of the border kind of outlined in, but I still need to go back and fill in the flowers and fill in the leaves. And it met down here as far as, you know, coming straight down, but I had to add, it was either 2 or 3 stitches. So I know where my mistake is, and it's like up here, and I'm not going to take it out. So that's where I am. I'm starting on this band right here. I know it's kind of hard to see it, but I'm starting on this band right above those flowers, right below the flowers, I mean. And the verse says, well, first of all, it doesn't have a name. It just has E. Let's see, where is it? E plus D. And then age 14 years. She's a very good stitcher. There's not a lot of what I would call mistakes. So if you're doing a band, it's consistent all the way across. There's a lot of variation in the border, but not what I would call mistakes that a child would make. So at 14, this was probably not her first sampler, but I'm just guessing. But anyway, the verse says, convince the world that you are just and true. Be just in all you say and you do. Whatever be your birth, you are sure to be a man of the first magnitude to me. So, you know, maybe she was someone with some degree of wealth or upbringing, and here she fell in love with a guy that wasn't her same social status. That's all conjecture. I have no idea. But it's a little hard to read some of the pink words, but, and who knew that I'm doing all this pink? I like red. Pink's okay. It's not my very favorite. But anyway, so I will continue to work on this during Sampler September, and I want to finish it. I'd love to finish it in the next few weeks. Which, by the way, while I'm talking about that, we have put my life tour on hold. Just some personal things. And so I am going to the Culture Station Midwest Extravaganza, I think is what it's called. And I'm leaving Thursday, and I'm coming back Sunday. So it's going to be a really quick trip. I'm flying in Thursday. The retreat is Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday morning I'm coming back home because Sunday's my birthday, and so I want to get home in time to lament being 70. Go out to dinner, I don't know, whatever. So I still want to do a life tour, and part of it is because I want to be buried in St. Louis, and I live in Jacksonville, Florida. So my husband and I are we're going to make a trip at some point so that we can buy burial plots, which I know you're thrilled to hear about. Oh, she's going to die. Well, we all do. Nobody's escaped it yet. But anyway, except Jesus. So, anyway, that's 7 Sheep. I'm really enjoying it. Here are my threads that I'm using. They're a combination of silks and this Italian gold. I'm running a little bit shy on, but there's not a whole lot left except on the border. So I think I'll be all right. This is Dinky Dyes, Gloriana, and is that all? Yeah, Dinky Dyes, and oh, and there's a Belsois. which is Classic Colorworks silks. So those are the silks. I'm really glad that I'm getting into finishing this because this has been a whip for a while. And when I went through all my whips, as I go through some of this stuff, I'll show you. But as I went through all my whips, I tried to go back and figure out when I started them. And I've done the Book of Days since, well, I've collected it. I go back to 2015. But I really started writing consistently in it like 2017. And even then, I didn't always put, okay, I started this. I just put what I worked on. And I didn't necessarily put the linen or the threads. So it's kind of a chore to go back and figure out, okay, when did I actually start this? But I've done the best guess that I can. And there's a few pieces that are from 2018, and that's my oldest. But this 7 sheep I started in 2019. So it's one of my oldest. So if and when I finish that during September, my next, and this is what I'm, slow down, Carol. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm trying to accomplish finishing sampler whips. And so, and I have quite a few because I'm nutty. So what I'm trying to do is look at them from a standpoint of how much time or how far along am I on these, to kind of like analyze, is it worth spending, you know, a month, 2 months to finish a sampler that I've only just barely started? Or is it better to spend that time and finish 2 samplers that I have quite a bit finished? So I'm kind of evaluating, I'm not putting numbers to it, but just percentage done. You know, am I halfway done? Am I 3/4 of the way done? So the next one that I have a considerable amount finished, and the next one I will pick up, is Mary Good. I love this piece. This is by Sassafras Samplers, also known as from Sassy Jacks. And so this is Mary Good. And on this one, I'm using Versoix Soie d'Alger. And these are the colors. And originally, this is the one that has the Pepto-Bismol people. Originally, I thought, oh my goodness, there's a lot of pink in this. But once you get going on it, you see the beautiful greens and reds too. So this is where I am on this one. And I think I can finish this in a few weeks. We'll see. I mean, I still have, the border's finished. There's no over 1, so the verse is finished. So it's just a matter of filling in like this flower pot. You know, there's a couple birds in here, and then coming across and finishing. So all the words are done. I have this middle, this here, all the way over here, and then a few things in here. I should be able to finish that. So again, this is Mary Good from Sassafras Samplers. As the Pepto people. And there's a lot of little fill-in too, those birds. There's some more, I think this is a cat. I don't recognize animals. I've told you that before. You know, there's some small little flowers in here, but those kind of things you can kind of whip out kind of quickly. So anyway, so I got to keep going or I'm going to be here the better part of the day and I might get too hungry to do that. Okay, now this is in no particular order, but here's another one that I have a good portion finished. And this one, again, does not have any over 1. I was gifted this chart. I'm very thankful for that. This is the Plantation Sampler by Canterbury Designs. And I have all this grass, the animals, the house. I have quite a bit left to do on this one. And this one I'm also using This is a real combination. There's some DMC, there's some silks, there's a little bit of everything. And this is a conversion, oh golly, of course now I can't remember. I want to say it was Plum Street conversion. I'm pretty sure, but not 100%. So this one I'm doing on R&R. I actually don't remember if it's Winter Brew or Beach Brew. I get those two confused. I think it's Winter Brew, but it could be Beach Brew. And this is where I am. I have the outline of the cartouche. The border is somewhat finished. I still have things to add to that, some leaves. But I think I could finish this in a couple weeks once I start working on it exclusively. That might be a little hopeful, maybe 3-4 weeks. So that's another one that's high on my priority list to get finished. And because it was gifted to me, I would be willing to gift it after I finish it. So that is the Plantation Sampler. Let me see here if I have who the conversion came from. I don't think so. So I'm not sure. Anyway, so that is the next one that I want to work on. Now, you know, I say all this, and it might come for naught. I might not finish it or do what I said I'm gonna do. We'll see. And the next one are a couple of Hands Across the Sea. I don't talk a lot about Hands Across the Sea, but I do love their designs. And I have quite a few of them that I want to stitch. And the first one that I really want to finish, I don't have a huge start on it, but is Anne Uffendell. By obviously Hands Across the Sea, also known as Hats. I got the book when it was both Anne and Isabella Uffendell. And I don't know if any of you watch the Primitive Stitcher, Suzette. If you don't, you should. She sells these, I think she showed them on one of her last videos, but she sells these little floss books, and they're complete with floss away bags. And I just put a tag on it. And this is all the silks for Anne Uffendell. So it's like they're on a ring, but, and then I just simply use the floss away bags to put the number. This is Averiswa. Number 2543 was that one. So anyway, I love them. They're like a hard chipboard, and she sells these, I think, on her Facebook page. I've been at retreats with her and bought them then. So anyway, and I don't have a whole lot done on this, but I definitely want to get back to this. This is vintage pecan butter. I do have the outline of the border and a flower at the top just to give it some color. And that's where I am on this. Did I say this is vintage pecan butter by Lakeside, 40 count. So that is, now that's one that I don't have a lot finished. So that one would be one that I would probably take into next year before I could finish it. The other Hands Across the Sea that I've barely started is Ann Morrison, which is a stitch along. As soon as I hear the word stitch along, I want to jump in, and then I don't do it. So I'm really kind of a rebel. Even if I tell myself I'm going to do such and such, then I kind of buck the system. I'm like, well, I don't want to do such and such. I remember being this way as a child, so, and my daughter's just like me. It's kind of sad. Anyway, this is Ann Morrison. This was a exclusive through Traditional Stitches in Canada. I'm stitching it on 45 count. I think it's Corn Tassel. No, Jersey Cream by Access Commodities. And I have a pitiful little start on that one. And this one I'm using 103. They're in a little case that I have, and I forgot to bring that in. But they're the spools, the 103 spools. And that is, and because I've made a career out of kitting cross stitch, I actually think I have a PhD in that. I think I'm working on many degrees. I also have kitted the, and this is Light Exemplar, the Isabella Ufendel. Is it possible I could steal that linen out of there at some point? Possibly. This is a bag made by my friend Patty. She makes these kind of long, skinny. So I have those hats designs in there. Beautiful. Oh, 30 minutes. I need to put the... This is my oldest whip, by far. I love this piece, and I actually think Brenda has the antique on her wall. But this is by the Scarlet House. This is Ellen Strick. So I made the wonderful decision to do this on 46 count. Let's see, I'm not sure what this is. I think it might be Sand Dune by Lakeside. It is fraught with over one. You know, it's one thing to have a verse. It's another thing to have all kinds of motifs that are over one. But this one I started in 2018. This is my oldest whip. And the border is, I still have a lot of the flowers to add. You can barely see some of these flowers, which I need to move the needle if I don't get back to this for 100 years. I don't mind leaving a needle in for, you know, weeks or even a couple months, but I don't leave a needle in when it goes longer than that. So I have the house finished, and this one I am using Tudor silks. These are by Gloriana, and they're a finer silk than like their standard. So there's blues and golds, creams. But there's a lot of these motifs. Let's see. I think a lot of these birds, some of these things in here are over one. And I need to just say, okay, every Sunday I should put some stitches in it, because I can do over one. And technically on this one, I really could do a tent stitch, which is just one leg of a cross stitch. But I made this decision. I was like, oh no, I can do that. I can do it full cross on 46 count, no problem. I was younger and stupider then. So Jesus Savior is done in a full cross. Now you see why that's my oldest whip, 2018. You know, I might have a Prairie School or Santa somewhere that's older than this, but as far as active whips. And then I've been trying to think, I want to continue doing Sampler September even when I'm on my trip, which is really only a Thursday to Sunday trip. But I don't want to take a lot of stitching. I always make that mistake, and I should know by now I don't stitch very much. And we will be getting kits. So I think I'm going to take this, Mary Lindley. Again, this has over one. But I could work on the tree, the bird, even the border on my trip. And this one I'm using mostly Belle Soie. And then there's one NPI. This is the called for. I'm doing this on 40 count something. And this is where I am. Well, let's see. Okay, just a second here. This is the top. And even if I just fill in the flowers all the way around, that'll be a little bit of an accomplishment. Finish the border and the flowers. So I believe this is what I'm going to take with me on my trip. It won't take up much space. That's what I think I'm going to take with me on my trip. Mary Lindley by the Scarlet House. Did I say that? Mary Lindley, 1829 by the Scarlet House. I love that bird. So that's another whip. 2 whips. I don't use project bags for just one project because I don't have that many project bags. So, and I don't feel like making any. I can make them. I have made some of these. But, so I put multiples in a project bag, which is probably not good, but I do. This is another one that I feel like I have quite a bit finished on this, but still a long ways from being finished. And this is Jane Cowy by the Scarlet House. This came out, I want to say Market 2020, if I'm thinking correctly. And this is on 40 Count Meadow Rue by Lakeside. And again, I have a needle here, so just hold on, please. I don't think it's supposed to storm today, but it kind of looks like it. So this is where I am on this one. This is another one I could take with me and just fill in the flowers all the way around on the border. But I still have a lot to do on this one. Jane Cowy by the Scarlet House. And this one I'm using NPI Silks. This one has a little bit brighter colors than a lot of the Scarlet House pieces, but it's beautiful. There again, I have some pinks and oranges. I really would like to bump this up after Mary Good. We'll see. Jane Cowy by the Scarlet House. This is another one I started last year. And this is another one that I have quite a bit finished, but not near finished. And this is Hannah Tingy or Tingy, 1823, also by the Scarlet House. I started this one, I want to say around November last year, because to me it has kind of a Christmas feel. It does have quite a bit of over one in the verse. You know, the only thing I don't like about this is the eyes on those deer. I think they're a little creepy. But that's how the little girl did it, so that's what I will stitch. And this is where I am on this one. I actually have part of the over one finished. The house is done. You can see I have a big space for that eyeball on that deer. The border's finished. So I do have quite a bit accomplished, but again, not near completion. And there again is a needle. I'm gonna move. See, I put some of these things down thinking, oh, tomorrow I'll pick that back up again. And then I don't. I love this band here that's red and green, if you can see that close up. It's like red on the outside and green on the inside. But the colors to me are very Christmassy, and then you add those deer, reindeer, whatever they are. Red house. So, like I said, I'm using NPIs on this one. Did I say that already? Probably. That's what happens when you almost turn 70. You forget what you just said. So there's 2 Scarlet House ones. Here's another Scarlet House that I started. I don't even know if I should call this a whip. I have done, this is Anne Long. And it's gorgeous. It has a lot of over one. And it has the verse is all about the bee the Industrious Bee. And this one I'm doing on, well, let me just see, 37 count Wild Honey by Access Commodities. And it's going to be a big one. So all I really have done is that top border. So that will be pushed probably to next year. Would be a nice summer stitch next year because of the bee. And I'm using all the called for silks on that. Gloriana, just a little bit of everything. Okay, the next one, and I've shown you this a number of times. I should have finished this. I should have picked this one up, but for some reason I went to the 7 sheep and just couldn't put it down. This is a Mind Independent and Free. All I need to do is write down in here. I have all, oops, another needle. I mean, I have so little, and I really could take this one with me, but I don't want to tote this huge thing. Somebody recently finished this one, and I was so envious because I had started it a while ago. So I just have that little bit at the bottom to finish. I want to say this is done on 40 count Exemplar by Lakeside. Kind of looks like Exemplar. And actually this is just a piece that's cut off of a sampler on the edge of a fat half. I don't know which sampler it was cut off of, but that's what it is. And this one I'm using the called for NPIs. Carriage House, Kathy Barrick uses a lot of NPIs, and I love NPIs. They're not over dyed as far as having variegation, but they're just wonderful silks. I'm going to show you a few of these. I probably won't get back to this for a while, but there again, these are with Thy Needle and Thread pieces that I'm in progress. This is Manor at Quaker Hill. And this one, I have a little bit done, but not enough to write home about. Working on the borders. And this is on 40 count Fawn by Picture This Plus. The colors are gorgeous. I definitely want to get back to this. A lot of people have finished it and it's really pretty. Manor at Quaker Hill, and that I'm using the overdyed cottons that it calls for. The next one by Brenda Gervais is the Brick House Sampler. I think this is meant to be done over one, but I'm not sure. Yeah, 28 count Mushroom Lagan is what it calls for, but I'm not doing that. And this is actually the bottom. I'm doing it on a piece of 40 count mystery linen that kind of looks like it could be light Exemplar maybe. So I started the little vine of flowers at the bottom. Have that one that I started when a lot of people started that one. This is another really old whip. This is Sampler Hill. Whoops, no it isn't. This is Needle and Thread. I'm not exactly sure when I started this. I want to say it was in spring of 2020. I love her skirt. And this is Mellow by Picture This Plus, and I don't have a lot. I've started at the bottom. You can see the word thread. Very small start. And there again, I'm using the overdyed cottons. No, that's not that. This one is the overdyed cottons. Yep, needle and thread. I have some Valdanis there that it calls for, but I may switch those out. I don't know. We'll see. So this particular project bag has 5 4 Brenda Gervais pieces with the needle and thread. This is Sampler Hill. This is the one I was going to say. I started this a long time ago. And I wasn't like gaga over the colors. I wanted them to be just a little bit darker. So I am switching some out, but I haven't gone for sure. So this is where I am working on the border on this. I really like this one, but I just, with this color linen, and this looks like an R&R, maybe Old Town Blend. I think it's 36 count. I just felt like with my linen so light, the colors were just kind of light. So I've added some other, wait a minute, what's this here? Did I show you the Brick House sampler? Yes, so that's the threads for this one. And then this is the threads for Sampler Hill. And as I get to it, I have some alternatives. So if I end up switching, and anybody's curious, at the point where I work on it, I'm not gonna, because I do have some notes. But I'd have to be working on it to be like familiar again with what I've done. Oh. This is a project bag I made a long time ago. And it's kind of small. But once I put things in a project bag and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's the one I made. So then if I switch them and put something else or just take some out, it's like, okay, now what did I do with that other thing that I took out? I have to stay focused. The next one in my, that fell, in my sampler, this goes with Mary Good. It's Jane Atkinson. I showed you this last time. This is by the Scarlet Letter. I haven't done any more on this than that. And I'm using 40 count lentil by Lakeside Linens. And I'm using the Averswa silks for that one. Definitely want to work on that, but I consider that a long-term project because that I'll be working on that for a while. This is another thing in the last 2 weeks that I have worked a little bit on. And this is a Hands Across the Sea, Louisa Coulamore. This is from the Bristol Orphanage Sampler. I mean, it is a Bristol Orphanage Sampler. I'm using 40 count hog bristle by Fox and Rabbit. And I think, let's see, Mischievous Stitches, Lori Holt. A lot of people are doing like 1 thread before bed or 1 thread a day. I did 1 thread and I'm like, okay, I gotta keep going. I can't do that. I don't know what it is. I just can't do that. So I ended up doing, I want to say 15 threads, and I finished that first row of alphabets. So then I thought, oh, well, maybe I'll just do 15 threads a week. How did that work for you, Carol? Not so much. I did it once. So, and I'm using a hank of Averswa in the color, what is the color on this? It's a number, so let me, 2925. How gorgeous is that? That's gorgeous. Pure gorgeous. Okay, I need to reach down and pick up what fell. Hold, please. This is another one of my oldest whips because this is by the Scarlet Letter. This is Anne Grimshaw, 1818. Teresa Kitten Stitcher finished it, and I know she started it in she started in 1818. She started it in 2018, and I thought, oh, that's a great idea. So I started it also. And this is another one that, you know, if I could do 1 thread, 2 threads, 5 threads, whatever, so many a week, I would do this one and that Louisa Coolmore. So I'd have a black thread and a red thread going. So again, I started in 2018, so this is another one of my oldest whips. And this one is done on 36 count pecan butter by Lakeside. And that's where I am on this. Definitely one I want to finish. And I'm using Gloriana Antique Black Silk. Now you see why I really want to get working on my whips. I have a lot of them. A lot. Too many. And I have so many things I want to start. Here's one of them, Mary Clayton. I have it all kitted with silks. It's a disease. I don't know if it's certifiable, but it's a disease. My husband can attest to that. These aren't really samplers per se, but this is one that I've started and one that I have kitted. The one I've started is His Eye on the Sparrow by Heartstring Samplery. I love this. Many people have done it, finished it. It's glorious. I'm doing it on, I'm not 100% sure if it's 36 or 40 count. I think it's 36. I could be wrong. 36 count Heartland by Picture This Plus. It's gonna be a big girl, although not as big as if I was doing on 28 count like it calls for. Heartland has a little bit of a goldish cast. There we go. So it's another one I want to get back to. And I'm using the called for cottons for that. And then Brenda and her wisdom, which I really enjoyed your last video, Brenda and Laura. It was great, as always. Wants to start the Consider the Lilies. These are both by Heartstring Samplery, His Eye on the Sparrow. They're companion pieces, although this one is quite a bit lighter. One is kind of a fall and one is kind of a spring to me, but what do I know? And that one I have kitted with 40 count. Let's see what this is. I think it's Dusty Road. Yes, by Seraphim. Seraphim, as in the angel. So there's 2 gigantic, enormous ones that I have a start and a kit. I gotta go a little faster. This is almost 50 minutes. The next one that I'm gonna show you is Village of Hawk Run Hollow. I love this. I love all the Hawk Run Hollows. Have I done any to date? No, I have not. But here is where I am on the Village. I have the first one finished. I'm working on the second block, and I have all of the blocks outlined. That was a boring day, but productive. So there again, I have a needle. I need to take those. At least put the needles up above. And I am doing this, don't gasp, or if you gasp, let's gasp all together. In NPIs. A boatload. NPIs are something I kind of collect as I go along. And let's see what else. These are all just kits in here. This is another one I'd really like to start. And that's houses. I actually like this as much as I like Village, but for some reason I started Village rather than, I don't have the silks for houses. So many of them are the same as for the Village. So I can kind of pull from that when I finish the Village. Hold, please. The other two here that I have about 5 more bags, so we'll see if I get to all of them. And I've shown you these lots of times. This is 2 blackbird pieces. This is little birds. This is where I am on this one. And I'm using the called for, which I believe, yes, 36 count Heartland. So there again, I'm using the same thing I'm using on His Eyes on the Sparrow. And this is where I am. Let's see, I went down. I usually start at the upper left and go down. That's what so barely a start on the border on that one. That's Christy from Daisy Cave's Primitives' fault because she started it and I loved it. So, and I had it kitted. This is Come Into My Garden by Blackbird, which I also have. I have a pretty good start on that. But there again, I have the border finished. And this one I believe is Picture This Plus. Let's see, is it Legacy or Velt? I will tell you. Well, let me just see here. Velt by Picture This Plus, 36 count. Little Birds was actually first given out at a retreat at the Attic when Blackbird came at the end of 2019. And Come Into My Garden was a extra piece we could buy from Spring Green Country Sampler Retreat, also in 2019. So that's Come Into My Garden. So I have those two. I probably won't work a whole lot more on those until spring. I don't know why. That's just my story and I'm sticking to it. Are you bored yet? I can just hear somebody saying now, you've got a lot of stitching to do. I know. I have a couple others. This one is one I really want to show you. This is for my Sunday school wall. And this is done with cotton, some DMC, mostly overdyes. And this is called Peaceful Paradise. I got this at the Attic. I don't know if there's any place else you can get this. Midsummer Night Designs. And there it is. And it has the 23rd Psalm. Anyway, I have a little bit of a start on this. On the outline. There again, not a very big start. This is on Light Exemplar. No, I think it's on Meadow Rue. Yeah, I think it's on Meadow Rue by Lakeside. And I really like this. So there's no reason why I shouldn't be stitching on it, other than it's huge. It has a lot of words, but words don't bother me. I'd almost rather do words than alphabets. And that 7 sheep where every other word was pink and then brown and then pink and then brown, I just threaded 2 needles. And so I always had a pink one and a green one, I mean a brown one, and I just go, go, go. Makes it easy. Let's see. This is another one, 7 Days of Creation by Plum Street. I have a very small start on this one. Very small. Oops. And that one I'm also using NPIs. And those are the called for. So that's a couple more whips. Here's another one that I really want to do. This is by Barbara Anna, The Fall. Lori Mischievous Stitches finished this one. It was gorgeous. So, of course, I kitted it up. It calls for Anchor. That's what I have it kitted with. This is another whip. I saw this on Tanya's wall. It's by the City Stitcher. It's called the Adam and Eve Sampler. As small as it is, it has quite a bit of stitching, and some of it is specialty stitching, and that's where I am on this one. Oh, I took the needle out of that one. What do you know? But like, it has satin stitches in that bottom border. It just has some specialty, but I need to get back to this. This is another one that I possibly could take with me on my trip. It takes a lot of colors. This is DMC I'm using on this one. Again, Adam and Eve Sampler by the City Stitcher. I believe the City Stitcher, she does quilt patterns too, and I think you can still get this. Not 100% sure, but kind of pretty sure. Kind of pretty sure. Okay, this is my And They Sinned. And I told you about my friend who has it finished. I'm gonna flash the chart because it's just got a lot of dark, and it's just kind of hard to read. This is And They Sinned. My friend did not fill in this green, and I'm gonna have my husband insert a picture at the end. So here was my dilemma. And I looked at hers and I studied it for quite a while, and then I decided I was going to change out. And I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to change it to. But I was going along. I used to work on this every Sunday. This was my Sunday stitch. And I was going along and I started to do that cloud. It goes here, it goes all the way up here, all the way up here. Okay. So I had, the color is Pebble by, I think there's also a Weeks Pebble, but this is by Gentle Art Pebble. And if you're not careful, it goes gray really quickly. So I had the cloud all the way up to here, and mine was really gray. I didn't want a gray cloud. I know it could be stormy, but I don't want a gray cloud. So I've kind of looked at other blues that I have. This is the DMC color it calls for, 928. This is my 928. They're considerably different. So that didn't help. And I decided I'm probably going to use Old Blue paint, because I think that's the color cloud that I want. Now, once you get into the body of this, there's a lot of darker colors, but that cloud right there, oops, I want that to be blue. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going to fill in that grass. Hers looks really good even without the grass filled in. So, but I got it back out after I saw hers, and I was like, you know, I really want to do this. This is, you know, there's certain things you'd kind of like. My daughter came over this morning. She said, Mom, I have to drop something off. Now, she lives like 20 minutes away, so it's kind of a jaunt. I know, 20 minutes. I'm fortunate that my kids live so close. So I told my husband, I said, Lindsay's going to stop by. She bought some gluten-free food for me, and she's going to stop by. So my husband goes, there's somebody walking up to the door. I said, is it Lindsay? No, it's some lady with a bag. I said, you need to start recognizing your own daughter. I said, well, welcome, bag lady. She's like, what? Anyway. Oh, crud. Crud. Oh, please. This chair was stacked 3 feet high. So I'm fortunate not more has fallen. Okay. Then we get to 3 things that have I said this before? I really, really want these finished on my wall. The first one is Ann Rayner. This is the Plum Street Sampler conversion that I'm using. I'm kind of adapting a little as I go. This is another kind of long-term project. Sarah Stewart Hardiman is another one. That's by Needlework Press, and it's very, very similar. And I'd really like to do both. I don't know if you can still get Ann Rayner from the attic. Some people have said that Jean has some special permissions to sell some of these pieces. I don't know. I already had the pattern. Originally, I got it from the attic. So here's where I am on Ann Rayner. The border's finished, except for all the flowers. This is another one I could take with me just to work on the flowers. Or some of the bands. I might do that. I might take Ann Rayner with me. Anyway, this is Vintage Light Exemplar, I believe. It could be Weeks Parchment with the Zweigart base. I'm not sure. It's pretty light. It's pretty creamy. Let's see. It's about like that. I love to do band. Okay, here's what I usually do on a sampler. I do the border first. I don't always fill in the flowers, but I try to do the border first. That's an anchor for me. So if I'm doing the bands, well, first of all, if the border meets, that's, you know, hallelujah time. But then I start doing the bands because that's a double check. Because if you made 2 mistakes on your border, you can still come out okay, but still be off, if that makes sense. In other words, you can make a mistake and then double correct your mistake. And so I like to do bands. So I come out, see where I come out. And then I start filling in alphabets. And then from there, I go to the fun stuff, which is generally the motifs. So here's another bag I made, Blackbird. The next one is Jenny Bean. This is by the Scarlet Letter. This is definitely a long-term project because all of that blue is fill in. And also because I'm using black. Now this is 32 count black. And I'm using 1 strand of a Verissois because it's thick enough that I can get good coverage even on 32 count. You see that? That's another one I could take with me. Just work on that. That entire border it's not sawtooth or satin stitch. It's just, you know, 1 stitch, 2 stitch, 3, 4, 5, and then back 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there's the colors for that. And that blue. The blue on the black will be a pretty contrast. The next one is the New England Sampler. Kitten Stitcher did this one. It's also by the Scarlet Letter. I'm using a piece of It's a lakeside. It's a double. Is it a double tie lakeside? That's a really good question. Let me see if I wrote it down. 40 count seaweed by Fox and Rabbit. Okay, good. I wrote it down. And there I am doing my bands, and then I'm starting from the bottom up to do, because I really wanted to do some red. So this will go fairly fast. It's not a difficult sampler at all. I think it might have one alphabet that is over one. This was originally done on a green fabric that was called Linsey Woolsey. I believe it was a blend of linen and wool. The name would suggest that, but for me, this is a really close representation. Seaweed by Fox and Rabbit. Using the Veriswa. And that is 40 count. Okay, where'd this go? Oh, this is Ann Rayner. Gotta keep track of my threads. Where did I put Ann Rayner? I'll find her later. See, I put these tags on here. If I didn't, I would not know what was what. And if I'm smart, lately I've been putting the fabric on the back, but I didn't always do that. And Rainer's in here. Okay. Couple more. I'm sorry this is going so long. I have a couple other small blackbird pieces that I'm working on. Working on berry time. That's a whip. But like I said at the beginning, this isn't my entire whip inventory. So I've gotten quite a bit done on that. There's another one I could take with me. And then it just has a oh, I know what. The linen that was originally in here was like 30 count. And I think, oh, and I put it in here to match because I wanted to do it on 40 count. So anyway, have that one. And then this is another, this is Maria Selby Humphrey. I've shown you this one before. This one, I have a little ways done on this. Not a whole lot, but a little ways. I know they're wrinkled. If I was a good doobie, I would press all these. I just don't. I'm sorry. So I'm starting the house. I've done some of the alphabets. This top border row, whatever, is finished. And here it is again. Let me see if there's a better picture of it. They didn't actually stitch it. Blackbird. They charted it from the antique. I love that. And I'm using overdyed cottons on that it calls for, which are not in here. Oh no, here they are. Just kind of a neutral palette. Well, if nothing else, I've moved the needle on some of these where it won't rust. Okay, one more bag. Let's see what's in this one. Oh, I know. This is another one I would love to get finished. Nancy, is it Nancy? From Inspired Needle. What's her sister's name? The brain just sits down. Anyway, this is Lucy Calcott. This is from Just Stitching Along. There's two Lucy Calcotts. This is the one that's 1825. I'm using a Veriswa Silks on this. And this is where I am. I have the border outline and I'm working on the border flowers and vine. I'm just holding this up. I hope you can see all this. That's my whip parade. Not total, all of my whip parade. There are a few others. I have the Mayflower one by Brenda Gervais. I have a couple other things that I didn't include, but I tried to include mostly the samplers. The other thing I want to talk about is these books from, again, from, I don't know what that is, from the Primitive Stitcher Suzette. I love these books. And what I've started, you know, a lot of times I'll collect these books and then I don't want to write in them. I don't want to mess them up. But I decided that was silly. So I decided to start, and this is what prompted my journey to figure out when I started things. Oh shoot, this isn't the one I wrote in. I have more than one. But what I've decided to do, I have more than one, and this one is not the one. I didn't grab the one that I'd written in. So she sells these books. I think they're on Primitive Stitcher Facebook. And it has chart title, designer, fabric, fibers, miscellaneous. Miscellaneous is a good place. Like if the chart has a mistake or if you changed a color, it's really nice to be able to put that in miscellaneous. Start date, and for me, if I can just put the month and the year, I'm a happy camper. And then completion date. So as I start working on these, my other book, I've already put Mary Good. Oh, I have to breathe. Can you pardon me for a minute while I breathe? I don't think I'd remember to breathe if my watch didn't tell me to. Would you? Would you remember to breathe? The gadgets we have, I don't know. Some days I just, anyway. I've put Anne Grimshaw. I've filled in about 5 or 6 of them that I've started working on. And as I pick up, I'm going to be filling these out. I love this one. It's kind of a, well, obviously it's sampler, but to me it's a little Halloweenish. I don't know why I think that. It's just alphabets. But anyway, I think I have 3 of these all together. And she puts the cutest little accoutrements on them. They come with a laminated piece here. This has scissors so that you can put that behind each page as you write to give it a little sturdiness. It's called My Stitching Journal. So I showed you the one that has floss in it, and then there's this one. And then she puts these cute little, what are these called? Alligator clips? I don't know. This one has a little pair of scissors on it. They're very cute. So if you see her at a retreat or go to her Facebook whenever she has them available, I would definitely get one because they're really nice. I think I've covered everything I want to cover. I was going to tell you a little bit about, this isn't really a life update. I'm a very private person, so I don't share a lot of stuff, but I've had a couple health scares this summer. Nothing came to fruition, nothing. It was just nothingness. But turning 70 to me is, I'm not embarrassed to tell you how old I am. It's whatever. It's how old I am. It's like saying what color my hair and eyes are. It's just a fact, you know. Although I did have a grandmother, my dad's mom, she used to lie about her age. Well, it got to the point where she was like younger than my dad. And as a kid, we were like, I don't think that works out. Does not compute. But I've been really, really, really swamped with quilts for customers to long arm. At one point, I had 20. And I'm the type of person, I don't know if it's type A, whatever. If I have something to do, I want to get it done. I don't want to have it in my brain nagging at me. Well, obviously, you're not going to finish 20 quilts just like today or tomorrow. And so it's kind of it's not really stressful. I enjoy doing it. That's not the point. The point is I'm not getting anything else done. Like cleaning out my cabinets, like cleaning out my closet, like deep cleaning my house, doing sewing for myself, quilting my own quilts. You know, and part of that is why we decided to put off the life tour, because it's like, I cannot have quilts from July and then take off in September. I can't. It's just, so I've been getting up every day, and I usually quilt 4 or 5 hours a day. I don't do it on weekends. That's why I generally do my videos on the weekends. I have friends that get together for stitching, and, you know, they're all retired, and, you know, I'd like to be able to sit down and stitch with them, whatever. And that's why I didn't video 2 weeks ago, because I went to a group of friends that got together to stitch. But I'm not sure the answer. I don't know if I need to retire or just limit how many quilts. I have told people I'm going out of town, and I'm still, I know of at least 6 people that have called me in the last week. I have a quilt for you. I have a quilt for you. Or people will pick up a quilt and then bring me one. And, you know, when they're in the process of handing it to you, it's hard to say, oh, I'm not taking any quilts for a while. So I'm not sure what I need to do, but it's something that I'm really, I'm spending some time thinking about, praying about, and just, you know, trying to really evaluate. Because my mom died when she was 63. My dad died when he was 77. Now, as my husband says, you have a lot better medications, and we have Mayo Clinic 20 minutes away. That is my primary source of medical treatment. But I just feel like I'm kind of just, I'm in a grind, I guess is what I need to say. So all that said, I really enjoy making the extra money. I enjoy going to retreats. I enjoy all of that. But I'm going to be doing some reevaluating, because I can't continue to have so many quilts to do and that be my focus all the time. You know, occasionally I need to dust. And I haven't been dusting. So instead we sneeze all the time. My kitchen needs to be, I mean, I need to like wipe down my cabinets, you know, all of that kind of stuff. Not to speak of the fact that, you know, you get to a point where you think, I need to go through some stuff and get rid of it, whether it's clothes or some fabric or whatever. You know, you just get to a point where you're like, this lifetime of carols is not going to keep going on forever. So, as my husband calls it, his checkbook of life. And what does he want to spend his time in his checkbook of life? So, I think that's a good analogy. So anyway, enough of the dreary talk. But it's one of the reasons I'm not as active on social media. I just, you know, when I sit down, I want to truly rest. I want quiet, and I want nothingness. I don't even want to listen to music. So that's kind of where I've been, what I'm thinking about. And, you know, and I'd also like to quilt some of my own quilts. I have 40 of my own quilts that are not quilted, and tons of fabric of stuff I want to make. Speaking of quilts, oh, I was going to show you some haul. Quickly, I'm going to show you some haul. I got the new Maggie kit. This is the fall one. This is from Blackberry Primitives. It was something you had to sign up for. The next thing I got is this delightful chart from Hands Across the Sea. This is Jane Hopkins. Love that flower basket. And I also got the Vicki Clayton silks for this. I'm not sure where I put them. They're in here somewhere. I got the X Jude latest. I think this is my last Sampler Club fabric. It's gorgeous. It has a little bit of a peachy, pinky tone, but it's gorgeous. I got a couple of cross-stitch antique. This one I got kitted. This is Elizabeth Martin. I think this was the August one, and I got it kitted with the NPIs and with 40 count old sheep by Extrude. Love that. So while I was on that side, I got these two charts also. Elizabeth Chester's, and this one is Catherine Armstrong. That's beautiful. This is Laura's birthday start. I got this from Scarlet Letter. I got it kitted, although I won't use that linen because it's like lamb's wool. It's really... So if you want to join in on this stitch along, love that bird. I think Brenda said she's just going to stitch the bird. Elizabeth Isles. This is the one that Laura talked about having angels in the borders. Like angels in the outfield. I love that movie. This was the Mary Ann Aldred Needlework Press kit that I got from Shepherd's Needle through Country. No, this is through Homespun Samplers Facebook group with Julie Crasave. I ordered a whole big thing of needles, Peacemakers, 28s. I got those from a shop on Etsy. I got a piece of brown sugar from Kitten Stitcher, also by Extrude. I got a couple of kits from Dying to Stitch. One came first, this one, Kind and True, and this one I got later. This one is called A Token of Friendship. With that Extrude fabric from Kitten Stitcher, I got these two charts, Needlework Press, Lucinda Fraser, and Be Kind to One Another. No, is that what it's called? Yeah, and Be Kind to One Another. And I've already done the, what's the name of that? All Things Exceedingly Diligent, and I want to do that one. This is some Brenda's Brew that I already had, but that's what it's called for in this jack-o'-lantern. I got that one from our Dying to Stitch. And these are my Vicki Clayton silks for that Ann Hopkins piece. I have used Vicki Clayton silks. I have quite a few things kitted with them because they're wonderful. So that was my haul in a month. Some of those things came even before. I remember last time I said I didn't have any haul, but I actually did, and I just had forgotten. So I try to put them all in a bag now so that I'll put them away after I show them on a video. Okay, so here's what's going to happen next. Are you ready? You probably already tuned me out. My husband's first going to input or add a picture of my friends and they sinned. And I took it this way rather than landscape, so you know you're going to see small picture because it's so big. And then he's just going to add at the end some pictures of fall quilts. I've been getting out fall quilts and I want to do my decorating this week. Another thing that I haven't had a lot of time to do. So anyway, it is what it is. So I hope you all are well and staying out of trouble or getting in trouble, whatever is your preference. And I will see you in 2 weeks after I get back from my trip, and I will be a year older. So happy stitching. Love ya. Bye.